Good evening, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about the thin client computing printing problems as the part of the assignment for my class. So first of all, I want to talk about what is thin client computing printing. So like it is one of the remote printing services where the server is based in the computing environment, and pretty much the server does most of the work for um, like launching like applications and different doing crunching different numbers, storing data, um, and those kind of things can be done using this protocol. And also it it's used in the very different organizations where the printing can be done centrally, and also the thin client. There are it seems like I've used this because this topic because we use a thin client computing printing protocols in my work as well, and I'm familiar with a lot of issues on a daily basis that we work on it. um, and sometimes we had to do a lot of troubleshooting fixing these issues. um, and pretty much thin client computing is also built on an architecture in which that has like the fundamentals problems to the printing, and also because the client requires the and every time the client talks to the server, and there should be the unbroken connection between the client and server. Um, but we see a lot of network related issues between the client and server. So that's one of the common problem that we face in my work on the like most of the time. Um, so let me start with the introductions. It's pretty much one of the protocols that helps to simplify uh, the printing issues in an organization. As we all know, like systems are never perfect, and we always have some flaws, or like knowingly or unknowingly. Um, so, and we consistently working on the flaws of the system to make it better. Um, and there and also it is an excellent way through which organize and simplify architecture while at the same time reducing cost and fostering security. And it also involves the use of fanless stateless terminals with no application and a hard drive with the client um, for this kind of protocol. And also as we all know, like system problems can impact negatively on service delivery. So there needs to be like proper audit of the systems and makes things changes, like we say bug fix when we do the coding and stuff. And therefore it needs to be monitored properly. And it pretty much um, the in this protocol, the client node only has access to server resources virtually, in as much as the systems comes with the mentioned merits. It has some drawbacks, especially in printing. This article looks like into into the thin client printing problems. The article written by the Wisnowski, pretty much that analysis on how he provides how um, the systems can be improved, and the thin client computing architecture is designed to possess the fundamental changes when it comes to the printing. So the system relies majorly on the local network and the wide area network for optimal performances. So I'm going to talk about some architecture level uh, in the next slide, which is I'm right now. It pretty much relies majorly on the local network area or wide area network, whatever the company uses or whatever your organization uses. Um, it pretty much it means that the network must there must be network all the times to use the several resources, and also in the same network there are also different applications and devices running, um, like such as like hardware resources like printers, etc. Where if there is certain kind of network interruption, and that will be pretty much causing the problems. Therefore, networks and we always see like there are some issues with the network. So, in order to have this running, the network must be up and running all the time. Um, but we always see like some kind of issues with the network. So and it can be very challenging sometimes to keep up network running. Sometimes we don't have any control. We would have like DDoS attack or something like that, which can interfere our services. Um, Therefore, it is very important to have the network up and running all the time in order to have this system running. It also sometimes suffers both like internal as well external issues. Some of those problems may be like unforeseen or anticipated, while the considerable focus has gone to solving enterprise printing problem with thin client architecture. And in that case, the remote clients will still face a number of challenges like for efficiency accessing and using the network printer. And most of the time the printer jobs they have to travel like through the different network, and in doing so it would pretty much consumes a lot of bandwidth. So those are that's some of the challenges. So I'm going to talk about some of the challenges in this topic in this page. Like since this protocol consumes a lot of bandwidth, like I just mentioned, it will like cause the printing problem, and there might be a lot of backlog, and maybe the system might crash, and then it has to be like reset it again. And also it will cause it will since it will take a lot of bandwidth, and it will cause the traffic in the network, and which also might interfere the other network or other applications that's using the same network. um, but 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 the applications in this architecture are virtually accessed. And also the driver management can pose printing problems in thin client computing architecture. Um, and it is important to note that print job sizes normally grow when presented for printing. So as they move through the network, they will cause like that's the reason why they will cause traffic and jams the whole network. Um, Probably this renders the network non-functional even for the other applications like I just mentioned. Um, that means pretty much the driver management also can pose a printing problems in thin client computing architecture. So some printer driver may not be compatible with certain thin clients, resulting in driver conflicts that may affect the stability of the whole environment. And also there might be the issue with the client printing problems because of the complexity of the printer installation and deployment. So let me in this uh, slide, I'm going to talk about some of the implementation um, for the thin client protocol. Um, it was pretty much built to reduce the cost and resources, and so that, and also the resources can be shared by different people at the same time. And in order to run it smoothly, we gotta have make sure like there is having we gotta have the redundancy in the network in order to make sure that the printer services are available. And the best way to solve the network problem is by using the compression, and also the use of the printer logic can be a better way of solving the driver conflicts issues for this protocol. Um, and also for deployment of printers and making sure that is being accessed by only the deserving clients in the network can be helpful for avoiding the problems. And also but as we fortunately there is a way of like circumventing the above issues that we talked in the previous slide, and making sure that the thin client architectures allow the nodes in the network to seamlessly enjoy printing services with different fewer difficulties. And in recognizing that the printer is an important service for our outputting information, that much energy has gone in getting solutions to flaws presented by the thin client architecture. Also, it is important to note that the thin client was built with the motivation of cost reduction and resources sharing. Therefore, the architecture presents a printer as a network resources to be shared by many nodes. Like I just said, the redundancy, having redundancy in the network is one of the way of making sure that the printer service is available, and the redundant networks acts as a fallbacks. Still on the network, the bandwidth is important. Therefore, its proper utilization must is very important. That can help in avoiding traffics. The best way to approach this is to perform like the compression. Um, it's pretty much like the compressing printing jobs, maybe one um, to make sure of achieving an efficient network. Compression reduces the file size, and also it cut down the stress of the network for better driver management. And we can also use the printer logic for solving different driver conflicts issues. It also allows for the administration of drivers and printers across the networks from a single point. Um, so let me talk about the common issues. Like I mentioned, there is like very network issues, and the poor driver management is one of the common issues we can see um, in this kind of protocol. And the printer installation can be very complex, and also the driver might get conflicts, um, and also the complexity of the printer deployment and installation. This means there will be no need for using for the maximum compatibility, universal drivers can be considered. But this means like there will be no need for using the group policy objects that are complex, because printer logic simplifies it with an intuitive interface for self-services. No matter how distributed a network is, the printer logic will always solve most of the thin client printing problems. Most of the systems, they always have like some kind of problems, and we'll always work onto fixing those problems. For this case, the printing problem in thin client computing architecture has been there are different documents that can be followed and find the solution for the new problems. And the common issues that make us printing problems are like network traffic, those are pretty much caused by the printing files, and also the poor management, poor driver management. But there are also solutions for countering these problems and ensuring and making sure that the printing is not disturbed. Um, so here are some of the solutions that I mentioned. As I mentioned, network redundancy is one of the solutions to network traffic, and also one can consider file compression for printer jobs, and finally the use of printer logic, which has been passed as the best solution to install the issues and driver management for the thin client computing printer. And I have used the following references in order to prepare this slide. And thank you everyone.